We all know people who've gotten older and they're just real stubborn and they're like, I'm not changing. The worst thing to see is someone get really a lot older and continue to smoke. Who are
And what they say, I gotta die from something. We all
yeah,
gonna die from something.
I would offer something, and it's tough. I mean, people
You
have
don't have to be bad.
it don't have to be right,
You don't have to be bad.
and people grow into certain habits, and you just can't sway them away. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
Or to see
to
people
your
that are
point,
our age and
well,
they look like they're
Oh, they
10
look
to
bad.
let,
15
let
They
me
look
let
bad.
me
years
play let me
older.
play this real quick too, because this was another thing. Just speaking to what y'all talking about real quick, was exactly this whole point. I just want to play this thing about young people and cancer because you know I'll just play a small piece of it because it's definitely something that is a topic that is people are really paying attention to or starting to pay attention to now.
What is really alarming oncologists is the sharp rise in cancer incidence among young people.
I was 35 when I was diagnosed kind of in early 2023. I was diagnosed with stage 3 rectal cancer at that point.
I would lay in bed and like type in the symptoms that I had, and at the bottom it was always be stomach or colorectal cancer, and I was like, that can't be me. That's what my grandparents used to worry about.
When you look at the risk of being diagnosed with cancer at a young age, so between the age of 15 to 39, that risk has increased 40% from 1975 to now. It's mysterious, it's concerning, and it's something that the whole cancer community is trying to work out right now. Everyone's recognizing that this is really serious. I'm Mia DeGraaf, and I'm a health editor at Business Insider. Rates of cancer among young people are rising sharply worldwide, but particularly in certain countries that conform to what we would call a Western lifestyle. So that's places like the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, certain parts of Europe. These are all places that eat more ultra-processed food, things that are easy, cheap, and fast to get. Places where people are often driving everywhere or have poorer sleep schedules. So there are 14 cancers broadly that are increasing really rapidly among young people: breast cancer, colorectal cancer, endometrial cancer, esophagus, bile duct, gallbladder, head and neck, kidney, liver, bone marrow, pancreas, prostate, stomach, and thyroid. Those are all ones which are increasing in people under the age of 50. The oncologists that I've spoken to who treat younger patients, the vast majority of patients they see actually seem like a picture of health when they come in. They might be marathon runners or lead incredibly healthy, active lives, but still have this cancer diagnosis that comes up. I've also spoken to a lot of young patients about how mind-boggling it is to get this kind of diagnosis at such a young age.
I was an adamant CrossFit enthusiast, and I had spent a lot of my 30s kind of refocusing my diet on trying to be what we all kind of expect to be healthier. That coupled with my young age when I got a diagnosis that is something you're not supposed to worry about for decades, it was incredibly shocking.
When you're at a young age, you are in this kind of sandwich generation. You might be caring for your older parents, you might be starting to have a young family, you might be trying to save up money to buy a house. At that time, getting a cancer diagnosis can be extremely destabilizing.
I was diagnosed in September of 2015. I got a colonoscopy, and within a week I was in surgery, and they took 80% of my colon out and started on this crazy long journey of colon cancer at 27.
A person born in 1990 has quadruple the risk of being diagnosed with colorectal cancer compared to a person born in 1950. By 2030, colorectal cancer is going to surpass breast cancer as the leading cause of cancer death in young people.
The unfortunate thing about colorectal cancer in general is it really focuses on a part of our body that we as society have been conditioned to think of as embarrassing or things we don't want to talk about.
People even in my town still don't associate colon cancer with young people. That's a huge kind of stigma I'm trying to break.
The thing with colorectal cancer is that a lot of people were coming in with stage 3, stage 4, very advanced, and the tumors also looked more aggressive. This was something, obviously, which was a huge conversation when Chadwick Boseman died. He died of colorectal cancer, and it was stage 3 or 4 by the time it was discovered. And that's something that we are really seeing in young people. In terms of what's causing the increased cancer rates among young people, there's many different factors that researchers are looking at. Screening has increased and it has helped us to detect more cancers, for sure. But that sharp rise that we're seeing in young cancers, it just cannot be accounted for alone by screening. If this was accounted for by screening, we would actually be seeing a lot of early stage cancers.
That was just a quick one talking about young people and Chad Boseman, like you said, twin. I mean, I think that was a good example. But you never really know. I think the biggest thing is just trying to get some level of some type of whole foods and trying to get some actual food in your diet. You know what I'm saying? Because
I think one of the biggest things is, I think it's just as parents, as just a society in general, is that we live such a busy lifestyle, and we have become conditioned to want and expect convenience. And so people will pay for convenience, and in the process, it's almost like they're paying for death in a very in a very broad way. It's like you'll pay all this money for all of this ultra processed fast food that tastes good and is saving you all this time, but in the long run, what are we gaining from that? You know,
right.
And that was something that I talked that I had to have with myself as well, because it's like, you know, as a single parent, when you're tired and you've got a schedule to keep for yourself and for two other human beings, and there's stuff to do and you don't have time, and now you're tired and you don't know what to make, and you've got picky children, it's really easy to fall into a habit of, I'm just going to go pick something up to eat.
Right.
Or, you know what? They've got to eat something. So,
Yeah.
okay, let me go over here and get these McNuggets. They'll eat
Right.
that. Or, you know, let me just pop this in the microwave because they'll eat that. You know, it becomes difficult, because then, without realizing it, you're conditioning your children to eat that way too.
Yeah.
And sometimes you tell yourself, well, you know, it's okay. I ate that kind of stuff and I'm fine. You know, they'll be fine. They're young. They'll be fine. They can handle this. But in reality, it's like sometimes you have to pause and think, man, what are we really giving to our children? You know, what are we conditioning them to eat? You know, and the other big part of that is that we only have so much control, because once we send them off to school, or we send them off to daycare or camp or wherever they go, and they get food, unless you're going to send them with a lunch or send them with something else, then they're going to be subject to eating whatever's in the cafeteria, whatever they're being served. And another big part of that we don't, it's a social, eating is so social that a lot of times we don't want to stop our children from eating what all the other kids are eating, because we don't want to alienate them.
That's a good point.
Because it takes so much to change, like, generational eating habits, that it's easier not to change.
Yeah.
And so we just follow it. The holidays, we're eating the same things.
Yeah.
I mean, holidays might be a little bit different because we're cooking the food ourselves and we can have a little bit more control over what's being made.
But holidays, portion control is so huge. We will literally go and just keep filling up the plate, and it's like and that's just not just holidays, but in general, portion control is a big part of.
Big thing.
I'm what you said something earlier, y'all, about eat what you like, and that's fine. Eat what you like, but like, you don't have to eat the whole gyro. You know what I mean? Like, eat half the gyro. You know what I mean? Save. You don't have to do the.
Absolutely.
But here's another thing that I want to talk about that we haven't discussed yet, and it's really important, especially with that video we just saw, because she said that a lot of these cancers are being diagnosed and it's already stage 3, stage 4. We, especially as Black people, Black men especially, need to start going to doctors. There's something in the Black community, we have a stigma. Men don't like to go to doctors until it's too late. And that's how we're finding cancers at stage 3 and 4, because we're literally not going when our body is saying, hey, something's, we get signs, but men are really ignoring it. I personally, with my diabetes diagnosis, I'm at my doctor literally once every 3 months. I have no problem going to see this dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just get it. Let's go through it, because it's so many things that can go wrong. If your body is saying something, go get that shit checked out, because
Facts.
that tough guy shit is gonna really get you like in a grave somewhere.